Hello and welcome to Microsoft Power Query video series. This is video number 2. Here we are going to get introduced ourselves to the interface of Power Query by taking a simple example of connecting to a unstructured Excel data source, and we're going to convert that data source into a structured data, and then we're going to see how Power Query really takes care of automating when I get a similar data in future, because I said in the last video that Power Query will also help you to automate whatever you perform in one data set. Without much ado, let's get into the Power Query and let's start exploring it. So before we go ahead and start handling the data sets, let's first check out what is the data set we have and what are the issues we have inside that data set. And I also told you that Power Query helps you to automate. So whatever I'm going to do in one data source, tomorrow when I get a similar data set, will it take care of that automatically? So we're going to put that action into test, and we're going to check that out, how Power Query is going to help us. All right, so let's go ahead and first check out what is the data set you're going to connect to. So this is the data we're going to connect to. So let me open the file first of all, and you can see right now predominantly the issues are I have a lot of blank rows, and I have blank columns. This is the issue which I want to resolve, and then I want to load it back into Excel. So I want to connect. The extraction is nothing but connect to this module 1 Excel file. Transformation, which is cleaning up process, is removing this blank rows and blank columns and loading it back to Excel. And I have a similar data structure which I want to test it, which is module 2. But if you compare the module 1 and module 2, they are not in the exact way because the blank column positions and the blank row positions are not the same. So I am actually trying to put the tool into test to see whether it can handle such a dynamicity. If it works, then it's amazing, because even when I automate through the Excel, sometimes the positions are hard coded, so it remembers that and it does only that places only. But in Power Query, how these transformations are captured, let's put that into test. So first, let's go ahead and open a blank Excel to start with. And I'm going to close this module 1 and module 2. The best practice is always, when you are using the Power Query to connect to any data source, make sure the data source is not kept in open. Yeah. So I want to connect to that module 1, which is inside the My Data folder, which is inside the download section. I have made sure that I've closed that file. So I want to go ahead and launch my Power Query editor, and I want to connect to that. Let me show you how I'm launching it. Once you open the Excel, so in this video we're looking at how do you get to the Power Query through the Excel interface, but those who are using Power BI, you already know where you have to click to launch your Power Query, or you can directly connect to the Excel from your Power BI desktop interface as well. But do remember, my Power BI friends, there is another video series coming up purely for Power BI. So we would show you those kind of situations when in that video series. Yeah. So to connect to the Power Query from the Excel interface, you need to go to the Data tab, and you need to go to the Get and Transform Data group, and click the downward arrow under the Get Data, and here you can see Launch Power Query Editor. So this is the button, this is the option you have to go for. When you click, that's going to open the Power Query Editor interface. Now this is not Excel, you are in Power Query Editor. Now how do you connect to a data source? The E part of your ETL is in the Power Query interface. Let me quickly go through the interface. I'm not going to take a lot of time here. The Home tab where you have couple of transformations available, like you can see remove columns, remove rows, split columns. A certain transformations are available, generic transformations available in the home tab, and specific to the data sources there are a few options. And the closing and loading part, final part, is also available only in the home tab. Yeah, transform tab is purely for cleansing the data. And I told you in the last video that the transformations are also given based on the data type of the columns. So for numeric issues, for date and time issues, for text column issues, for generic column issues, for table level. So it's given you specifically for each category in a separate sections itself. Add column, like I said, we can create functions to create columns. You can create columns through some transformations. Apart from the existing ones, you want to create something on your own. And you want to have that as a recorded step, that is also possible. And the last one is got to deal with how you want to look at the loaded data. Would you like to see some dialog boxes, yes or no? Those options are available under the view. So let's go to the home tab and let's connect to the data source. So how do I connect to the Excel data source here? So in the home tab under the new query, the word query stands for every data set you are extracting, every table precisely. So you go to the new source, you have a downward arrow, you click that downward arrow. Are you connecting to a file? Are you connecting to a database? Are you connecting to a special type of any sources? And here we're going to go for the file. The one which I'm trying to connect is a file. And what type of file is it? Is it an Excel or text or CSV or PDF? I'm trying to connect to an Excel file, so we're going to click Excel workbook. So my Excel workbook is inside the download section, inside the my data folder. So here is my module 1 file. I'm selecting that. I'm clicking on import. So the moment I connect to that, what happens right now, it will start showing me a dialog box which will present to me that how many sheets are there in that file, how many ever I have. I will see all those sheets here. If the sheet contains any table formatted data, even that table names will be presented to me here. If my Excel has named ranges, even those named ranges will also be presented here. So what are the advantages here is, it's not necessary that you have to take the entire sheet. You can be specific to the table. You can be specific to the named range. So that means you can take a collective data and a selective data. Both are possible. Now you can select multiple tables when you activate this checkbox which says select multiple items. But here my data is available in sheet 1, but definitely in upcoming videos we will see these options and work on these options. Yes, so the moment I select the sheet which holds my data, it shows me the preview of the data here. So when I click OK, it's going to load up that data here. These 3 sections of your side which you have to be familiar in your interface is the first. The middle section is nothing but the table view section, and the left side is nothing but your queries pane. Like I said, every table you load is called query. So every table when you start loading up, it's going to keep presenting in the left hand side section. And remember, this is resizable. Okay. And the right side is nothing but query setting, where every single transformation step you perform will get captured here in these areas. Okay, under this section applied steps. So let's say if you want to change the name of the data set which you're loading right now, it has picked up the generic word sheet 1. Let's say I want to give this a name as sales data. So I can just simply right click here and rename, or I can go to the query settings side and I can just click inside this name area and I can say sales data underscore cleaned. Yeah, because that's why we're coming here, isn't it? Okay, cleaned. So that's the name of the day query in terms of Power Query World. But that's the name of the table that I want to load it back. Now, what you have to be really careful here, sometimes this section of the dialog box, this query settings will not be visible. If you do not see this query settings, you can go to the view tab, and here is the option to activate that query setting. So if I click on it, it gets disappeared. If you want it back again, you can bring it back again. And the formula bar is where it captures the M language behind every single step. Like if you are aware of macros, there is a language called VBA, which your Excel uses to record your steps you perform when you turn on the macro recorder. Here, Power Query uses a language called mashup language or M language, and that language is shown in your formula bar. Again, if your formula bar is not visible, you can come back to the view tab and activate the formula bar. You can see it. Right now, it would sound very, very Greek and Latin. Right now, don't worry about this. So we do have a separate video series to master the mashup language. So during that time, this will come into clarity. But as of now, trust me, 90% of your work will get done in the interface itself without even touching the coding sides. All right. So now, coming back to this. So this data, when it gets loaded, what your Power Query does automatically, certain things are done. My data had a lot of blank rows above the header row, but what happened is it automatically located which is going to be my header and removed all those blank rows automatically, which I don't want to do that. And it also applied the data types for these columns. These ABCs, ABC 1 to 3, these are nothing but the data types. If you click on this, it'll show you the data types available. So whichever data type you click, and it'll automatically get applied to that entire column. I don't want a Power Query to do that. I want the user, me, I want to take the lead and do it. So this step, if you don't want it, okay, any step if you don't want and you want to perform it, the best way of doing it is always delete them from the bottom to the top, because each and every step is connected to, or each and every step is interlinked each other. One step output is given to the second step. The second step output is given to the third step. So if you break the chain, your query will not work. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off, this change type, and I want to cut this third step where it also says promote headers. I'm going to keep it like this. So what is this source step is nothing but, remember we connected to the Excel file, that's nothing but your source, and navigation is nothing but in that Excel file which sheet you selected. So that has been captured here. So now let's go ahead and perform our operations. The best thing is it already removed that blank rows above, and it's asking me what's your next transformation. So I'm going to say, hey, the first row is nothing but my header row. So I want you guys to go ahead and promote that into header. So how do I do that? In the home tab, under the transform group, in the home tab under the transform group, here is a button which says use first row as header. So when I click, watch it, promoted headers came in, and the change type automatically came in again, which is whenever it does it, the change type will also come in automatically. So which I don't want it right now. I'm going to get rid of that because I want to do the data type setting at the final point. So you might be thinking, Hari, this is what we had earlier. Why we have to delete and redo it? The only thing which I want to achieve through that exercise is I want to show you that how this came in. If this is not appearing, how do you get that? Where is the tool to promote your first row as header? The tool is available in the home tab under the transform. Now I got that done. Now there are blank columns I want to remove it. How do I remove the blank columns? So watch it. In the home tab, reduce rows, manage columns. I'm going to the manage columns, but there is option called remove columns. I'm going to click on it, but there is no option for me to remove blank columns here. So I'm going to go for the choose columns, and it says, would you like to go to a specific column? No, I really want to choose columns which I want to retain. Whichever I'm not going to choose, rest is going to be removed, because I can select these columns which is having null values, which is ideally the blank columns, and I can delete it. But it's going to remember that column 4 and column 5 always, and it'll look for the column 4 and column 5 only to delete it. It won't understand whether the column is empty or not. It will delete that. So I don't want to capture the positions of the column. So the way to handle that smartly is I go to this choose columns option. So here I would say, hey, whichever I'm activating, just keep only those columns, choose only those columns so that it remembers and keeps only those columns for me, not the rest of the columns. So even in the tomorrow's download, if I have excess blank columns, I don't have to worry because this is going to capture my column names and keep it, right? So it's going to always select these columns which I've activated, which is of my interest right now. So when I click OK, it picked up only those right now. So the blank columns are removed right now. What's my next issue is the blank rows right now. So I'm going to select any one of the column, or you can select entire table. How do you select entire table? Is select any one column, Control A, that selects your entire table. Now I can go to the Home tab and I can go to the Remove Rows downward arrow and I can say Remove Blank Rows. And that's going to remove the blank rows. So no blank rows, no blank columns, everything is handled. How do I know that it's perfect and I've cleaned up my data, everything is set? There is an easy way to find out is one is the identification. You can see this kind of a green line appears right below your header text. You can see that if I keep my mouse pointed on that green line, it shows there is no errors here, there is no empty here, all are perfect. So I can see this even if I go to the View tab and I can say column quality. When I activate the column quality, it shows the quality of each of the columns here. But if I have so many that I can check it quickly by activating that option. But if you don't need, you can uncheck this. But that's how you find it whether your column is ready to go for it. Now before you take it to the Excel, now you got to set your data type, right? So you can go to each column, click this left hand side ABC123 and click what's your desired data type and it will pick it up. But if I have a lot of columns, I don't want to do this by column. I want to do this in one shot. So I want to click on any one of the column, Control A, Transform tab. Under the any column group, there is a button called Detect Data Type. So I'm going to click on it, and the moment I do it, it automatically identified the type of value I'm holding in each column and assigned the data type for them automatically, which I could have done that by simply going to each column and clicking that ABC and choosing the respective data type, but I'm trying to save the time here. So we did everything. We loaded, we connected to the data, we got the data, we did a couple of small transformations here, and we need to finally load it back to Excel. So we did the E extraction part, we completed the T transformation part. Now we need to go to the loading. So we go to the Home tab, we come to the Close and Load downward arrow. There are two options for you here, Close and Load to. The Close and Load to option will be active if this is the first time you have connected to the data source and you're loading it to Excel. If you have already loaded it and if you're trying to do some more transformations, the Close and Load to will be grayed out. You will have only the Close and Load. So let's go ahead and click on Close and Load to, and let's see what are the choices am I getting in Excel when I'm loading the structured cleaned data back again. So when I click here, it's going to pop out and say that, hey, would you like to see this as a normal table? Would you like to see this as a pivot table? Or would you like to see this as a pivot chart? Or you don't want to load this table, you just want to retain the connection. So probably you would use that connection for a different purpose. So what is connection? We'll get to know in detail in the coming up videos. But understand that these are the four choices you have. And the fifth one is something, add this data to the data model, which is basically if you are a Power Pivot person, then this is something relevant for you. We will have another video series for the Power Pivot and the DAX, so we will be getting in detail on this area. But right now, we need the cleaned data to get loaded into Excel. But remember, the data which you're loading to Excel, if it is well within the boundary of Excel, no problem loading it into Excel. But if it is beyond the limit of Excel, or if you're unsure about the data size, it's always better to go for this choice, which is only create connections. Yeah. So, and then you need to make use of that connection file in a different way, and you can get it done. Yeah. So we'll see in our coming up videos what is this connection. But as of now, it's a very small data. So I'm going to go for the option table, and it's going to give you a choice. Would you like to go for the new worksheet or existing worksheet? I'm going to say existing worksheet. I'm okay with the place where it is pointing to. I'm going to click OK, and that is my cleaned up data getting loaded, and there we go. So we got the data right now loaded. Perfect. Everything is done. And look at the right hand side. I have a dialog box in Excel screen which says queries and connections. So let's say that you have got that into a table from the file module 1. So tomorrow you have a new download, which is basically module 2. Can I go ahead and get all these transformations done for the module 2? If that is possible, then yes, Power Query has done its work. So let's check that out. How do I change my data source right now? There are many ways of doing it. So I'm going to show you how do you do it in the Power Query. So we want to go back to the Power Query editor. So we're going to right click on this sales data cleaned query, and we're going to say edit. So when I click edit, I'm taken back to the Power Query editor. I'm going to the applied step. The first step is where we were connected to the data source, and the formula bar also, you can see it shows the file path and the file name. I can change over here, but I also want you to get used to this one. On the applied step, certain step will have a gear icon on the right hand side of it. So that means you can customize that by going to this gear icons. So I'm going to go to the gear icon pertaining to the source. I'm going to click on it. It's going to bring up a dialog box here, and it's asking me, hey, would you like to do any changes here? Yes, obviously I want to change my data source. I want to click the browse button and locate the module 2. Module 2 has a difference in terms of blank rows and blank column positions, and the values are different. So let's check out. I want to click import in module 2 and click OK. So my first step got changed to a different data. So I need to navigate to the next step. So the next step automatically got performed, and I'm just taking it through step by step. Means it is performing those transformations, whatever I did in module 1, it is now performing it on module 2. Now my module 1 was having decimal values, just to show you the difference. And now this file does not have any decimal value except the profit, the quantity and revenue, they are not in decimal. But still we got all the transformations done right now. So I'm going to load it back into Excel. So right click, I go to the home tab and close and load section. You can see right now the close and load 2 is not active because you have already loaded this, but your data source was module 1, but right now you did the change as module 2. When you click close and load 2, what happens right now, that for the new data, the things are being completed. You can see it has done for the module 2. Everything happened just like that. We just changed only the data source. What's the other way you can change the data source? Let me show you here. When I right click on the queries, we went to the edit and we were accessing the data source through the Power Query editor. Is there any other place I can do it? The answer is yes. If I go to the data tab, and if I go to the get data section again, you can see here which says data source settings. When I click, I'm again taken back to a similar kind of a uh, dialog box, which I can click here and I can say change source. And now I can browse button, I can locate the module one and click import. Okay, close. Now I got to refresh this table, right click and refresh. There you go. Now it is happening for module one. So I can keep changing it in both ways. One is something I get into the Power Query editor and work on the source step, or I can come to the data tab, get data, data source settings, change source, and locate the new source, import, okay, close, but you got to refresh and that will get done. So in this video, I've shown you how do you connect to a data source using the Power Query editor, and we also took a quick tour or the interface, what are the tabs and what these tabs are meant for, the three sections of your interface and where the transformations are available. We did one of the transformation in the transform tab, which is detecting the data type. Rest we did in the home tab related to the column handling and the row handling. And we also understood what these are, nothing but capturing each step we performed. And we also saw that when the data source changes, how simple it is just to change the data source and enjoy the transformation what we did in the earlier data set in a new data set as well. All right, so I hope this video gave you a good heads up on this area. We will meet again with another interesting input on the Power Query. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.